a school known for its various jersey colorways and cool helmets. Oregon's head coach, Dan Lanning, and his staff are burning it up on the recruiting trail and loading up with talent. Some experts have Oregon winning the Pac 12, while some say he still needs a couple more years. Ed, tell me what you think.
So what I like that Oregon is doing is going against the grain of kind of what the Pac-12 is. Pac-12 is known for like explosive offense, great quarterback play, receivers, and all that stuff. But they actually went out and got some good defensive players in the transfer portal, and then also coming uh, in their class next for the upcoming class, right? So they depends on the website you go. On three has them at number 8. 24/7 Sports got them at number 6. But they what I like is that they're not just going out and getting a bunch of talent on offense and not worrying and just try to outscore everybody to win. They're actually going after defensive players, uh, and their schedule is not a bad schedule, right? They got a tough stretch mid season from I say October 14th to November 11th, right? So they got Utah, USC in that stretch. Um, they also play Colorado, which is going to be a kind of like we don't know what to expect because such a change at Colorado, all the defense, all the players that came in, all players that went out. So we'll see what kind of team they are. But no, they if they can survive that tough middle part of their schedule, they end up with Arizona State and Oregon State at the end. Uh, I think they easily can win the Pac-12 if what they have invested in, especially on defense, pays off. I think they got a good shot.
Yeah, just for me, it was interesting that they was the number one team as of right now recruiting in the Pac-12. I mean, you think of Lincoln Riley at USC, you think of Dion at Colorado, right? To see them there, shows that Dan Lanning has the program on the right track. Um, he surprised many last year. They had that first game last year against Georgia, got blown out. But then the rest of the schedule, man, they were, you know, very competitive with every team that they played right up to last second, right? Fighting for the to get into the Pac-12 championship game. So, so Dan Lanning has Oregon back on the national scene. I know with Mario Cristobal, they were kind of up and down every year, but he's getting Oregon back, building a steady foundation there to have them compete in that Pac-12 for years to come.
Yeah, I agree. If you look at, like y'all mentioned, or Ed mentioned about the defensive recruits that he's getting, it's needed, right? He came from Georgia where he was calling defense. He needs to be able to build his defense up there in the Northwest. And, last year they were 71st in the nation in total defense. And they were 123rd in the nation on third down.
And win
They
like
were
that.
exposed on third down, and you can't win games that way. So him going, burning up the recruiting trail, getting all these defensive recruits is good and it's needed.
Yeah, they got a cat out of South Carolina, Jordan Birch, edge rusher, and Alabama cornerback Kyrie Jackson. So not only is he bringing in new for the recruiting class, right, but he's also getting players to win now too. So he knows what needs to be done, what needed to be fixed, and he's sticking to it. They if they perform, they got a shot.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Jordan Birch was a very highly recruited player too when he went to South Carolina. I see he had 60 tackles last year, 3.5 sacks for South Carolina. And and I know I've talked about it in the past, but a lot of the pieces that he got from the transfer portal were on the defensive side of the ball. So being at Georgia, seeing what it took to build that championship team, starting with the defense, he's taking all that over there to the West Coast.
And if he can do that on the West Coast, you got to understand the only team that really plays defense out there is Utah. Nobody else is playing defense like that. And if they're able to have that good quarterback and Bo Nix, if Bo Nix can be consistent game in and game out, they'll be able to compete with USC because USC defense last year was atrocious.
USC has picked up a lot of defenders in this transfer portal. And, I think same thing. I think they're saying that in the Pac-12 they're okay, but to compete against the Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ohio States, Michigans, all those teams, they gotta be able to play defense. They gotta be able to stop somebody. And Oregon and USC are doing that. They're trying to get those types of SEC type players into the Pac-12.
And for USC, that's going to be necessary because this is their last year playing in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
UCLA and USC will be headed to the Big Ten, and they got big boys on the interior line and the defensive line.
Yeah, I mean the Big Ten, they don't have they got Ohio State, Michigan, stuff like that, but a Wisconsin team has some huge players on the interior. You know what I'm saying? They run the ball there's talent up and down the line in the Big Ten, and they're gonna come in there thinking they can just run how they've been running the last couple of years. They're gonna get it's gonna be it's not gonna work there. I don't think that style of play will work in the Big Ten. You need defense.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you really think that Oregon can make a run at USC or even Utah? Because Utah is the back-to-back Pac-12 champs. I mean, we give a lot of credit to USC, but it is Utah who's back-to-back champs there. Do you think that the Oregon Ducks have done enough to make a run at that title?
I think they can, as long as they get consistent play from Bo Nix. I think they can compete in the Pac-12 easily, but he has to be consistent. His games are up and down. One game he'll give you, 325 passing yards and 5 touchdowns, and the next game he'll give you 1 touchdown, 3 picks, 200 yards.
Yeah.
So if he can be consistent and they can run the ball consistently, I think they'll be okay. They had an issue running the ball last year.
Yeah, that was my biggest concern is Bo Nix. He had a hell of a season last year, right? In the Pac-12, Heisman Trophy finalist, right? But I always revert back to AB was saying with his inconsistency. He's always been kind of inconsistent. Boom or bust, never fails, right? Even when he was at Auburn, he'll give you a great game one day, then the next game he's not as good. So he has to be consistent every game. You like I said, you look at Caleb Williams and Michael Penix Jr., they're always consistent, right? And he's not. So they need that to get to that upper echelon of the Pac-12.
Maybe having the amount of talent around him now will help him with his consistency because it looks like they have brought in, even on the offensive side of the ball, they went and got some recruits. They also got some people coming in, so it's maybe having the right program around them help them stay consistent. But yeah, it's kind of hard when you've been showing the trend of for years. This is who you are, right? You have a good game, up and down game. So we'll see. But I think until somebody, you know what I'm saying, you got to beat the champ to be the champ. So Utah, go Utes.
Yeah.
But hey, man, I'm excited to see.
What's interesting, man, is Dan Lanning is, with his ties to the South, he's getting recruits from all over the place.
Yeah. 2 4-star recruits out of Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was just reading he also has a offensive lineman that's going to probably be coming out of Alabama. And and that's what he was saying in the article that I was reading. That it's interesting that all the way from Oregon coming all the way back down into the South, grabbing some good recruits.
Mm-hmm.
Usually Pac-12 they stay on that West Coast.
Yeah.
So that's he's building a solid program.
We'll see, man. They got to win though for it to stay consistent. Because as soon as they have another crappy season, or they start declining, then recruits gonna be like, man, I'm going back down south. The weather's nice,
Yeah, these kids are they different. They'll decommit quick and transfer quick.
Yeah, but Oregon hasn't really been crappy in a long time, though. You look at Chip Kelly, you look at Mario Cristobal. They've always had solid seasons. I
Okay.
mean, what, a few years ago, I want to say 2014, 15 with Marcus Mariota, he was in the championship game.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, and it's funny, AB said in his intro, the colorways and all that, all the money they put into them uniforms, he is gonna come out there.
Yeah, I mean, when you got a guy like Phil Knight as your alumni,
Right.
you're gonna be taken care of.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for this episode of the Unbiased Room. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell us how we doing. Take care.
Peace.